is a show that focuses on the person behind the brony. I'm your host, Osaka Jack. Please sit back and relax as we talk to this week's guest brony. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Into the Spotlight. This is your host, Osaka Jack, and with me today I have someone you may recognize from Twitter or several other social sites, Mr. Keith. Hello.
Hello.
How are you today?
I am well, thank you.
Good. Now, the name is Keithius?
Yes.
Okay. What is the history on that?
There's not much of a very interesting history other than I rather like my name and I wanted
Okay.
something that sounded kind of Latin-ish.
Ah, okay.
And so much as like from the movie Gladiator, you got Maximus.
Mm-hmm.
Well, take the same ending and it's Keithius.
Ah, okay. Keithimus didn't work for you?
No, not quite.
All right, then. Keithius.
Yeah. It was a pretty unique name. It works very well as an internet handle almost everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, I sometimes run into people who have stolen that name ahead of me, but by and large, that's my name and it stuck. Back then, of course, I wasn't as worried about anonymity as you might be these days, so
Right.
using my real name was not a big deal.
Mm-hmm. I think by and large would be a good screen name as well.
It would be.
Or even a background pony name, by and large.
I may need to work on something like that. Now that you've given me the idea.
Yay, by and large. A general pony.
Either a background pony or someone who runs a grocery store. Sounds
Ah,
like a discount grocery store name.
like a Sam's Club or Costco, by and
Yeah.
large.
Yeah, by and large.
Nice. Yeah, we just mentioned it a little bit before we started, but you've just started working on an OC character.
Mm-hmm. Two of them, actually,
Two of them. Okay.
ironically. That both of the, as I was brainstorming name ideas
Hmm.
for the one that I'd created initially, sort of as like a sort of kind of not really a pony-ized version of myself, although I don't really go for that myself.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted a character sort of loosely based on me.
Right.
And I was brainstorming ideas for his name,
Mm-hmm.
and some other names came up, and one of them in particular hit me, and it was like, wow, I really like that name,
Mm-hmm.
but that doesn't fit the character that I created using the easy out of the pony creator.
Hey, everybody starts somewhere.
Everybody starts somewhere. Um, so I just sort of jotted down the name for later, and after
Mm-hmm.
I came up with the name for the first one, I went back and said, all right, well, I've got this other great name. I need to create a character that fits it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I fiddled around for a while and this, that, and the other thing, and so on and so forth. And the character came. And ironically, the second one that I created, the name came, the pony came, the backstory came.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it just felt more fleshed out. It's funny how that works
Yeah,
sometimes.
interesting. So, which one do you think you'll stick with? Or will you stick with both? Just have them like roommates?
I think they might end up, roommates. That's a good idea. I like that.
Aha! Yay!
I hate to abandon anything. I'm terrible like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a bit hoarder, so I don't like to throw anything out, ideas included.
Right.
It's a real pain for me whenever I have to delete photos or anything like that. I
I
don't
know.
want to do
Yeah.
it.
I feel that. Yeah.
So I'll probably keep both of them, but we'll see. One of them's a boy, one of them's a girl, and we'll just see how they go.
Hmm. Do we want to release their name at this point, or is it still work in progress?
I've released them on Twitter and
Oh,
put them
okay.
on my DeviantArt page, so technically speaking, we can release names.
Okay.
There's Shady Hooves and Night Breeze.
Shady Hooves and Night Breeze. Okay. And Shady Hooves is the boy, right?
Yes,
Okay.
no relation is what I like to put after his name, in a subtle nod to the old Tiny Toon Adventures. They're
Right. Right.
Buster and Babs. No relation to any other Hooves character.
Right. I'm sure that would be a common name, because I can think of at least two off the top of my head.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's like Smith. It's a very common surname.
Yeah. It would make sense. Hooves. Okay. What is the so you said you've come up with an entire backstory for the girl.
Yes,
Oh.
Night Breeze there
Mhm.
sort of came out of the idea that I rather like astronomy. And so I thought, what would I was thinking astronomy related things. And I
Hmm.
was thinking nighttime as it was when I was thinking these things up.
Right.
And I thought, astronomy. That must be a Pegasus. It must be, night breeze, someone, looking at the stars at night.
Hmm.
And night breeze is a Pegasus pony who likes to get up rather high in the sky to set up her telescope because you have a clearer view up there, less
Hmm.
interference from the ground,
Right.
and runs into trouble because it gets very cold up there and you
Ah,
kind of run out of air. It's kind of a
okay.
double-edged sword going up that high. You get dizzy and short of breath.
Uh-huh.
So that's kind of the story. And of course, I
Oh,
also get to reference the 9.25-inch catadioptric telescope.
okay.
Miss Twilight's not the only one who has one of those.
Yes, yes. And I would guess Night Breeze wouldn't try to look at the sun with hers.
No, no,
So,
she'd be smart enough not to do that.
yes. Uh, I think I just shook my head at somebody using a telescope that even close in the direction of the sun during the daytime. No, what are you doing?
Mm. It can be done. You just don't
Yes.
look directly. You reflect it onto like a card or something.
Yes.
Use a regular telescope for that.
Well, I remember a while ago you were brainstorming on Twitter. You were thinking about an OC, and I suggested what was the name? Nice Shot as the name.
Yes, I think it was Lucky Shot,
Lucky Shot.
actually.
Lucky Shot. That's right. That's right. Lucky
Yep.
Shot. And my idea on that was just your affinity for cameras.
Mm-hmm.
We touched on.
Yes. Yep, I do likes the cameras. Yes, you could say I'm somewhat of an amateur photographer, very amateur.
I find that the more a person insists that they're an amateur, the better they tend to be at it, but don't want to brag.
I guess so.
No, I think you take some amazing pictures. Those are really good.
Well, like you said, I get lucky once in a while.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
I
I
know
just have
just
my
enough to get
itty
myself
bitty
into trouble
digital
the next
camera,
day.
but what type of setup do you usually use?
Oh, I only have the one camera,
Hmm.
and it's an older model. I bought when I bought it, it was the previous year's model. It's
Oh,
a Panasonic Lumix G2 camera, micro four thirds system. Because being a nerd, I need to have the latest and greatest thing, and micro four thirds was at the time kind of the new thing. Now, of course, there's a million mirrorless cameras out there.
yeah.
So, but it's a well-established brand. There's a lot of lenses to choose from, which was the main thing.
Hmm.
And even more than that, it's not terribly expensive.
That's a very nice thing. Yes.
Which I'm well aware of how expensive photography can get as a hobby,
Yeah.
and uh, I am a computer nerd, so I have a number of rather expensive hobbies. Computers are not cheap, and neither are any of the peripherals that go with them, or the video game systems,
Hmm.
or so on
Hmm.
and so forth. So I was like, all right, I need to not go out of control here.
Hmm.
Uh, and I knew that it was better to buy a cheap camera and get a good lens than to buy an expensive camera and get a cheap lens. So I said, well, I'll get last year's model.
Hmm.
It'll have, decent video recording modes and all that other stuff that I wanted.
Hmm.
Um, but not cost an arm and a leg, so I can afford, some good lenses and, have the same capabilities, some zoom lenses and so forth.
Hmm.
And yeah, it worked out all right. I built my collection up over the last year or so,
Hmm.
and it still all fits in one tiny little backpack that I carry around with me, so that's nice too. It's
That's
not.
very good. Yes.
I travel a fair bit with my wife, and
Hmm.
the camera comes with me, so I wanted something that wasn't too heavy.
Right.
I didn't go for one of those big, because you can buy used camera SLR for
Hmm.
probably the same price I paid, and but it'll weigh twice as much, and
Yeah.
that weight around my neck, I just was like, no, no, I'm gonna go with something lighter.
Mm. I remember there's a town in the northern area of Japan called Hirosaki, and they're famous for having several hundred cherry trees. And in the middle of May, all of them will bloom at once, and it's wonderful. It's very nice, very picturesque thing. But it attracts people from all over the country because
Hmm.
that's the week that everybody has off. It's called Golden Week in Japan. Everybody has off. And I guess most people who are amateur photographers figure I've got a week off. This area still has cherry blossoms. Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to go there every once in a while, but I don't stay very long because there's so many photographers. But
Yeah.
invariably, I will see somebody who has a massive camera, and usually right behind him will be his wife or his girlfriend or something lugging around the equipment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My wife won't put up with that. That's why I
Yes.
carry it all myself.
Yeah, and usually I try, it doesn't work often, but if I'm there, I'll take pictures of the trees, of course, they're very beautiful, but I like to take pictures of the expressions on the wife behind, lugging around the huge tripod and extra lenses and everything while the husband is taking pictures.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It,
We have a similar thing here, which is we've got the Brooklyn Botanic Gardens here near New York City,
mm,
and they have a very nice cherry blossoms in the spring, although I haven't ever been myself. And
mhm.
then the more famous one, not too far south of me in Washington, D.C.,
Oh, yes.
which has their very nice, and I've actually been there when they've been in bloom, and it is beautiful, although I'm
Yes.
sure it doesn't hold a candle to the true ones in Japan there.
No, I,
Um,
I would say it definitely holds a candle just because it's of course very beautiful and it's amazing, but I've been to Hirosaki when it was a bit cold.
mhm,
And they know this is when everybody's coming. We need these things to bloom at this point. And
mhm.
if it's been a little bit of a cold winter, they will shear off a bunch of branches on the trees to force them to bloom early.
Oh wow.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
I'm like, if it's a good year and they bloom naturally, it looks wonderful. But if you have to shear off half the branches to force them, then I don't. Nah.
Yeah, it strikes me as a little artificial. Yeah,
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, if it does work
Actually, I
out,
think,
which it usually does, they're absolutely gorgeous. But yeah,
mhm. Yeah, I think the ones in DC actually were a gift from Japan.
that's right. Yes,
If I remember the history of them.
that is correct. They were a gift, and Japan likes to talk about that every year.
Do they?
Oh
How
yes,
very interesting.
yeah. Around cherry blossom season, first they'll show in our area, then they'll show the every time it's a 5 minute segment on the Washington D.C. cherry blossoms that were a gift to America from Japan. Like, yeah, okay, yeah, we know.
Rubbing it in, huh?
Hmm. Well, I don't know if it's rubbing it in. I think Japan is proud that a gift that they gave could do so well in another country.
I can understand that.
Yeah.
And it is a very nice gift. I
Oh,
certainly appreciated it when I was there. I got a couple of nice shots out of it.
yeah, yeah, yep. They definitely give good shots if you can get them. Well, related to that, I know that the website Shutterfly.
Yes.
That's a recent thing, isn't it?
Yes, it is. That was a project of someone else, also on Twitter, another brony friend of ours, Natasha. And she started it and kind of out of the blue approached me sent me a message and was like, "Hey, I know you do photography. You want to be a writer for it?" And I said, "Okay, sure. I'll help out. I'm happy to do it." I was actually thrilled because it was like, "Oh, this is actually something I can help with." I've always felt a little like, I don't draw very well at all,
Hmm.
and I don't write music. So those are the two, big things in the fandom. And it's like I wish I could give something back.
Mm.
And then this site came up, and I was like, "Oh, heck yeah, I'll contribute."
Well,
So
yeah.
that just sort of started up, and it's still sort of getting its legs underneath it. And it
Hmm.
was a bit tricky recently because the both of us, as the only writers for the site, both kind of had life kind of get in the way for a bit.
Right, right.
Uh, I had a hurricane, and I think Natasha started a new job,
Mm.
so there's some craziness there. But yeah, it was very exciting to do. I was thrilled that people were, looking at the site and
Yeah, yeah,
actually enjoying the articles, and
yeah.
the Twitter account for the site does pretty well. Retweets everybody's photographs here and there. It does really nice.
For anybody who doesn't know, well, could you give a quick rundown? What is Shutterfly? I'm sure they could surmise it from what we've just said, but
And it's tricky because you need to. There's a lot of things with similar names. Obviously,
right.
there's our dear Fluttershy.
Hmm.
There's um, Shutterfly, which is a website that sells where you can order photography prints
Hmm.
and cards. They're
Yeah.
actually where I got my Christmas cards printed.
Oh,
Um, and then there's Shutter Shy. So it's a bit of a tongue twister trying to remember which one is which. But the
right,
website
right.
is shuttershy.org.
Shuttershy. Okay.
And it is basically just a photography club for My Little Pony fans.
Mm.
Um, the whole idea was, we've got plenty of, places where you can find, artistic, people doing their stuff and
Hmm.
music and so forth. Um, but not a lot of photography shows up, you know.
Yes.
So shuttershy.org was an attempt to, sort of give that creative stuff an outlet, a home, a
Hmm.
place to be.
Yeah.
Um, and it's done pretty well for itself, I think.
Oh, yeah. I would agree. Yes, I do remember a few times Equestria Daily has had a contest of take a picture of your pony in front of a landmark. And I
Yes.
do enjoy those, but that is just, yeah, that's a one-time thing, and having a
Yeah.
place to actually see some great photos by some My Little Pony fans is a good thing.
Hmm.
Though it is nice when you can see the a little blind bag pony standing in front of something cool. That's always nice.
Yep. Yep. It is always nice. Yeah. The with all the conventions that go on for for My Little Pony,
Mm,
lots of people cosplaying and all the neat stuff that you can see at them.
yep.
A lot of photography comes from that. And so a lot of the articles on the site, especially when we were first starting, were, how to take better photos at a convention,
Hmm.
how to respect people's privacy. And it all kind of grew out of Natasha, I think, gave a talk at one convention
Oh,
about
nice.
um, doing con photography,
Hmm.
sort of the do's and don'ts.
Right.
It actually spawned a funny little joke about, oh, what's his name? Featherweight, the
Okay.
little
Right.
photographer pony.
Yeah.
Uh, the joke is featherweight is creepy. Don't be featherweight. Featherweight goes around and snaps embarrassing photos of people, and you don't want to do that when you're at a convention. That's not the idea. You don't
Hmm.
take embarrassing photos of people.
Right.
You be polite and get people's consent, but
Hmm.
there's also the problem of you don't want people to see you taking a photo and instantly go into that sort of fake posed mode. You want to
Yes.
capture, you know,
Candid.
real moments without being creepy, without
Yes.
being, you know, well, you know the episode, so you know what can result from doing this the wrong way. Photos
Yes.
taken
Yes. Very
in
true.
context.
I was always shocked at that. I do like that episode, but Diamond Tiara got a lot of flack, which okay, she acted out of line, but Featherweight got nothing, and he was
It's funny.
really invading privacy quite a
He
lot.
he was. He is like the pony paparazzi.
Yeah, and I understand he was told to do it, but at
Mm.
least something like, dude, don't take pictures of people in private situations anymore. Okay, that's fine, but
Yep, the Cutie Mark Crusaders wrote the articles, but he took the photos.
yeah.
They around.
Oh, well, you touched on it just slightly, but yeah, this past year, you were very directly affected by the hurricane, Sandy.
Yes. Hmm. Yes, Hurricane Sandy, and then it's 1-2 punch follow up of Superstorm, Blizzard, Nor'easter, Athena, I think they named it.
Was that the name? I never heard the name over here. I just heard Big Storm.
Yeah, it was just a big storm. The National Weather Service technically does not name winter storms,
Yeah.
um, but the big weather company here, the Weather Channel, started naming winter storms kind of just as a convenience.
Yeah,
So because it's easier to say, Athena rather than that winter storm we had the first week of November, so
yes,
yeah,
that's
not
true.
it.
Yeah, I
So
can understand that, but I don't know. I think there's a point at which you need to stop personifying things.
there
I
is, yeah. It feels a little silly. We'll see
hmm
how it goes. They've been doing it this winter. We'll see how it catches on.
Yeah. And honestly, if you're going to name something Athena, then you're just setting yourself up for a ton of Greek and Roman myths, and there's going to be a limit to those as well.
Yes,
Grant,
eventually we'll run out of names.
granted, if you find a winter storm that has 3 peak points, calling it Cerberus would be awesome.
Hmm.
That would be cool.
Yeah, I don't know if Athena sprung fully formed from another storm's forehead, but
That also would be pretty cool.
yeah, that was a pretty trying time, I have to say.
Yeah, you lost power for how long?
I think we were officially without power for 12 solid days.
Wow.
And there were people in our area who were still without power for a couple more, I know.
Wow.
Yeah, it hit the New York, New Jersey area pretty hard.
Yeah.
The gasoline rationing that we had for, gosh, I think that kept going after we had power restored as well. I think it went for another week and a half at least.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, multi-hour long lines to get gas at the gas station, all the grocery stores running on generators and just selling everything they have because
Hmm.
they can't keep anything anymore and just, food's discounted.
Right. Right.
Um, and then, of course, it was really bad because shortly after the hurricane hit, we had a bit of a cold snap, really.
Mm.
Um, we had the blizzard as well, but there were a couple days there where the temperatures dropped a bit below freezing
Hmm.
at night. And when you've got no power to heat your house, yeah, when it gets cold, it stays cold.
Yes. Yes. That's a definite bad situation. Put over thrice. I think for me, watching your Twitter feed, just one of the most frustrating points was where the people across the not even just the people in the building next to you had power,
Yes,
but
that
you
was.
didn't.
If you watched my Twitter feed during that time, you were basically watching my slow descent into madness. That was the last straw that night. We had been at a friend's house
Hmm.
to stay warm, and we
Yeah.
came back, and it was after dark, and our whole complex, because I live in a condo complex, was lit up, and our hearts rose, and we're like, the power is back. And then we drove to our particular building, and our building, and the one next to it, and one other one down the street by pure chance, were on a different electrical circuit than the rest of the entire complex, and
Uh-huh.
we did not have power. So there was that joy of seeing power back on and then driving up to your actual house and seeing the lights still be out
Oh. Oh.
and
Oh.
thinking, oh goodness, they've forgotten about us. How long is it going to take? And
Yeah.
just it was a real punch to the gut.
I'm sure. And part of me, when I saw that, I was thinking they're never going to get to his house because, as far as they're concerned, it's done. They're
We were very worried about that exact possibility. The
yeah.
whole like, oh well, looks like the lights are on. Guess we'll leave now.
Yeah.
Eh, We didn't get home in time to yell out to them, no, no, wait, please come back.
Hmm. Hmm.
Not done yet. Thankfully, the very next day it did come back on. So,
That's good. That's good. I know that growing up we lived on a cul-de-sac, a court for some terms, and because of very odd zoning, um, our house was not part of the county, but neighbors on either side of us were.
hmm
So they would get the preferential garbage pickup and recycle pickup, and we had to go with a different company, and it was an extra charge for us, and they weren't very good. So we alone would have to put our trash out on a different day, and everybody else on the entire road would have it on one day, and we'd be like, we can't put our trash out today. We're not part of your area. Next door
yes,
neighbors. Hmm.
the joys of odd boundaries.
Yeah.
When I was growing up as a kid, we lived right on the border between two towns,
Oh,
and that
nice.
made for some interesting times, especially when it came to plowing.
Yes.
One town would plow their road, and the other town would plow their road, and it was sometimes in disagreement between them as to who needed to plow in front of our street. So
Yes.
not nearly as bad as your situation, but yeah, I can understand that.
Well, with us, with plowing, because we were at the end of a court, they would just kind of plow all the snow from the previous road, just dump it right in front of our house.
Yeah,
As a
yeah.
child, that was awesome. We had this
Oh yeah,
huge fort to play. Parents, not so pleased.
yeah. I remember that very clearly too. Those big piles of snow after a couple of snowstorms towards the end of winter, you'd have like
Mhm.
6, 7 foot high pile of snow,
Yeah.
and it was that nice compact snow, and you could really dig tunnels in it because it was
Yeah.
very sturdy at that point. Oh yeah, as a kid that was great fun.
Yep.
As an adult, no, no, that blocked like the entire the entire end of your driveway.
Yep. Yeah, we had.
You can't dig through that very easily. The snowblower doesn't work on, tightly compacted snow. That was
Not at all. No.
basically a glacier at that point.
Yep. There's a huge difference over here. They don't sell, for the most part, they don't sell snow shovels. And well, of course, my area they never get snow, so obviously that's obvious. But even in the northern areas, snow shovels are not sold. What they have is it rests on the ground and it has a handlebar. It looks kind of like a walker,
Hmm.
except that the bottom part is plastic and it's curved up into a scoop at the end. So it's literally a way to scoop an entire area and then sled it over to another area and dump it. So there's no picking up involved in the removal of snow.
That's very clever.
I haven't tried it because my area has never had snow, but it looks like it would be a lot easier on the back.
Yeah. Surprised that hasn't been brought here.
Uh-huh. I think it
There's
would be
probably.
less useful in scooping out salts or something like that, but in
Mm,
just snow, it seems much more efficient to me.
yeah. I'll have to Google that later.
Well, during this power outage, how were the residents of your apartment?
They were pretty good. A lot of the people who live in this particular condo complex are a little bit on the elderly side.
Oh.
So it was a bit rough on them. A number of them actually eventually just packed up and left.
Hmm.
Um, managed to get some gas in their cars, which was the other complicating factor. If
Right,
if it hadn't been for the gas rationing, we probably would have left as well.
right,
But with the gas problems, it's, you got to think, how far can I go on the tank of gas, and
right,
should I risk it? Do I want to sit in line for 3 hours to get to fill up again, and
right.
will I be able to fill up? So we just toughed it out. But a number of people here I saw leaving during that time.
Yeah, yeah,
They went and stayed with someone else because the power outages were very sporadic.
right.
So it could very easily be that you'd have somebody a couple miles away who'd be with power,
Hmm.
but you would be without for 2 weeks.
Right.
So a lot of people left. They ran a generator at there's a main house at the front of the complex,
Hmm.
sort of the office building.
Right.
They ran a generator there so they could run the heat in that building, and a lot of people would go up there during the day to basically just stay warm,
Yeah,
charge up your cell phone, laptop, that sort of thing.
that's nice.
Play bridge, I guess, with other people. I don't know, whatever it is they do.
Right.
Read a book,
Hmm. Hmm.
you know, or in my case, tweet about how annoyed you are at all this, the lack of power.
Hmm. Hmm.
It was my outlet during that time. I have to say, I
Yep.
don't know what I would have done if I hadn't had Twitter and other people who would talk to me, because we were all by ourselves that whole time.
Oh yeah. I'm sure it must have been very
Very
difficult.
appreciative of everyone who kept me company during that time.
Yeah. Well, and not just your apartment complex, but your apartment. I know there are two smaller residents. How did they fare during the power outage?
Those two,
Mm,
those yes. They were very much unperturbed,
really?
as as long as their meals were served on time.
Hmm. Hmm.
They don't really mind.
Okay. The cold
Uh,
didn't bother them?
no, we were a bit worried towards the end there
Hmm.
that the would bother them, as it was getting very cold towards the end.
Right.
But no, they actually managed pretty well.
Oh.
They they're pretty good down to around 50 degrees Fahrenheit,
Okay.
which I don't know what that is in Celsius, so
I
I'm
don't
very
know.
sorry.
Yeah.
Um, they can easily handle it.
Hmm.
And they have spots and whatnot that they can huddle together and
Yes.
stay warm. So
Yes.
they never seem to have a problem. We checked on them.
Hmm. For anyone who has not been keeping up with their feed, we are, of course, talking about Gus and Betsy.
Hmm.
Who-
Yes, our my kids, quote unquote, our two furry little companions, my
Yep.
two house rabbits.
Hmm. Hmm. Yes, he keeps rabbits.
I'm that crazy bunny guy.
He's
So
only
I
got
like.
two rabbits. Give it time.
Hmm. I'm increasingly becoming known just as the brony with the bunnies.
Well, hey, I mean, come on. We got Shutter Shy, you're part of. You have
Hmm.
rabbits.
Mhm.
I don't think Fluttershy uses computers or cameras yet, but if it comes up, then yeah, you will be the incarnation of
Well,
Fluttershy.
Angel Bunny is white, and Gus is a white bunny,
There we go.
and Angel is picky about food, and the bunnies can be very picky about their food and a bit bossy sometimes. So,
How accurate is Angel's behavior?
actually very accurate for the most part. I really haven't, and of course, being a rabbit enthusiast, I would, of course, notice anything if it was improper or inaccurate about the portrayal of bunnies. But so far, no, it's been spot on. There's the usual cliche of rabbits eat carrots, but they've actually shown, Angel eating other things, which is good because carrots are not their staple
Right.
food.
Yes.
It's actually mostly hay, actually. Um, but yeah, no, it's been good. Someone on the MLP show there knows rabbits.
Yeah, it would seem they do have a background on the rabbit. Possibly not the opening doors and kicking people who are mean to Fluttershy. I don't imagine Gus and Bessie do that overtly.
Not directly. They're not quite. They don't have opposable thumbs,
Hmm.
thank goodness. So they're limited in what they can do. But the attitude, very accurate.
Hmm.
The attitude, and if they could close doors and kick me, they would.
I just imagine you trying to give them, oh, but it doesn't have the cherry. Smack! It's okay, but you can eat it anyway. Smack! Okay, I'll go get the cherry.
Yep, that's not at all inaccurate with these two. They can be very picky about their treats that they like. Um, Gus in particular will sometimes he'll come up to you and he'll be very excited because it looks like you've got a treat for him,
Hmm.
and you give it to him and he takes a sniff of it and he'll go. He actually grunts
Ha!
when he realizes that's not the treat he thought it was because it's not the one he wants, and you're like, I'm sorry, Gus. Here, put it down on the ground, and he just will have nothing to do with it. But if you leave the room and you're not watching him,
Mm,
then maybe he'll eat it when
right,
you're not looking because he doesn't want to give you the satisfaction of knowing that he ate the treat that you offered.
right. It's similar, not exactly the same, of course, but I think it is similar. If you ever purchase one of those cat trees, like that
Hmm.
has platforms and different scratchy posts, the more money you spend on it is directly related to how little willing they are to play with it.
Yes, it is very much the same with rabbits. We have a number of rather expensive toys that we've bought for them
Hmm.
that they completely ignore
Hmm.
and instead like to play around with the cardboard box from Amazon or whatever that I ordered online, and that's like their favorite thing in the world.
Yes, exactly the same for cats. Yep. Yeah, the
So
$300 cat tree. Nope, not going to play with it. The piece
no,
of string that held it together. Oh my gosh, this is the best toy ever.
yep, yep, often true. The box that it came in is much more fun than the actual toy inside,
Yep.
quite literally with these guys.
I when last year I went away on vacation for about 3 or 4 days, and I was concerned about my cat. Um, she has some digestive problems, but I went to the local pet store and I told them about it, and they got me this water filter, and it has charcoal filter and it keeps water running in like a fountain state,
Hmm.
and it cost about $85. Uh, but I was like, you know what? This is great. I don't have to worry about her getting fresh water all the time. I'll be gone, but it'll be fine.
Hmm.
And I set it up, and she took a little interest, and she took a few licks of it. And I'm like, yay, she likes it. Wonderful. I go on vacation. I come back. None of the water is gone from the fountain, but
Hmm.
she has found a way to drink from the toilet.
Oh dear me.
And I'm like
Yes.
looking at like, really? You really?
Yep. Yep. We have the same problem here. The most, you think of rabbits and other animals like that drinking from like a water bottle that you hang on their cage.
Hmm,
These two, for some reason, never took to that, and they insist on having their water in a bowl,
hmm,
which of course needs to be changed every day.
right.
So it's the same sort of problem. You can't going away with us is we're very fortunate that we have someone, a close friend of ours, who'll come over and bunny sit for us.
That's good.
So, because otherwise we just could not ever leave them alone.
Right.
It, it's ridiculously expensive to board them at the vets for any
Hmm.
length of time. And they are very particular, especially now that they're getting older. They don't travel very well.
Right.
Um, Gus in particular, he's blind in one eye as he
Oh.
has cataracts,
Oh.
and the other one has had some surgery on her face. So,
Hmm.
you know, they don't travel well, and if you
Hmm.
move them and they get upset or out of sorts and whatnot, they'll stop eating. And
Mm.
very much like horses,
Hmm.
bringing it back around that way,
Yep.
if they go quote unquote off their feed, they can get very sick and actually die, which is
Oh.
constant worry for us if whenever they stop eating. So
Right. Right.
um, yeah, going away for us, we're very lucky to have someone who comes over and keeps feeding them on their regular schedule in their
Hmm.
routine that they're used to,
Yeah.
so that they don't have any stress and
Hmm.
get upset and whatnot.
That's good.
So yeah.
I do recall vaguely. Are these two rescue
Hmm.
bunnies? Okay. Okay.
Yes, both of them are. We rescued Gus first, and then Betsy shortly after.
Hmm.
Yep,
Hmm.
completely by coincidence. Random happenstance. Happened to see some kids throwing a bunny around in a parking lot, and
Oh.
then they abandoned it, and my wife, the animal lover, went down and grabbed him, and our life hasn't been the same since.
Well, that's good on you for rescuing them. The other one, did you personally rescue it, or was it somebody rescued it and you took it in?
It was someone was breeding rabbits,
Oh.
and we basically, they had a new one. We were like, just give it to us, we'll take it.
Yeah.
Um, it was relatively newborn at the time,
Hmm.
so we rescued her from living in a hutch in a cage outside in the cold
Uh,
with a yappy dog that would come around and scare her. So
uh, that's
yeah,
nasty.
yeah, she came to us very, very scared and very timid, and
Hmm.
didn't like being picked up. Would kick you if you tried to pick her up. Her
Oh.
fur was extremely coarse and rough
Mm.
when you touched her. And now she still doesn't like being picked up. But
Hmm.
what else is new with bunnies? Her fur is much softer, and she hasn't kicked me in years. So
That's good. Well, that's also partially probably because you learned, okay, don't try to pick her up.
there is that. I do need to pick them up from time to time. They need their nails clipped. They need to be
Yes.
brushed when they shed, and
Right, right.
they do need their yearly visit to the vet. So
Hmm. Hmm.
they do get picked up,
Right.
just not very often.
Hmm. Hmm.
They're spoiled. What can I say?
Well, and it's something that I think we talked about a little bit on Twitter, but a lot of people who will have rabbits for pets, if there comes a time when they cannot keep them, they'll just release them into the wild, thinking that they'll be okay.
And they won't.
Yeah.
No, they're called domestic rabbits for a reason.
Hmm.
And I often joke about it. With my rabbit here, Gus, he's completely white.
Yeah.
Um, you put him out in the wild, and he just sticks out like a sore thumb.
Yes.
He'd be completely vulnerable to all those predators. Um, and we have wild rabbits around my area here, actual
Hmm.
real wild rabbits, and they come out at dusk, and they're almost invisible.
Yes.
They're that brown shade, and in the dusk light, the faint, twilight.
Yeah.
See what I did there? Um, in the light of dusk, they're really hard to see.
Hmm.
But if you were to put these guys outside, one of them's pure white and the other one's white and brown,
Hmm.
and they'd stick out like a sore thumb, and they'd get
Yeah.
eaten by something, like that.
Well, and beyond just how they look, it's how they act. They're not used to living outside and fending
Hmm.
for themselves. And
Oh yeah, they don't have the fur for it. They don't really understand how to forage or
hmm.
seek shelter. I mean, they kind of still have those instincts, but
Hmm.
not to the same degree.
Yeah.
Um, and it's especially bad when people release rabbits who haven't been, fixed or something, because they
Oh, yeah.
they may not survive very well, but they'll still breed like rabbits, as
Right.
the saying goes. And then
Yes. Yeah.
you've got a lot of poor rabbits out there just, not knowing what to do, and it's just a terrible situation.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
if anyone's listening, don't release your rabbits into the wild.
Yes. Well, I
Find,
think
find
that applies to any house pet. I mean, as
yes.
long as
Yep.
cats and dogs, might be capable of surviving stuff, but if they've been living in your house, then they don't have the skills. They don't.
Yeah. hmm You can't really call it surviving
Yeah.
in the wild. And yeah, rabbits the same as cats and dogs. They're domesticated.
Yes.
They need us
Hmm.
to survive.
Yep. Indeed. Uh, well, this is a question that I tend to ask in all my interviews, and I'm interested in your response.
hmm
In all of My Little Pony, is there one line or one scene that defines you as a brony?
Mm. I knew that question was coming
I am predictable.
because I've listened to your show before,
Thank you
and
very much.
um, gosh, that still is a really good question. It's really hard.
I'm really proud of this question. I hate tooting my own horn, but
No, it's a really good question because I'm even with all this time to think about the answer in advance, it's still really hard. There's so much to draw on, but if I had to pick one thing,
Mm,
I imagine it would probably be Twilight singing in Winter Wrap Up,
okay,
just trying to find her place.
right.
And then she does, of course, at the end, although there's no lyrics to that, but that would be the theme for me.
Interesting. Okay. And if we take it even further, she's trying to find her place among this well set community, but
hmm
she never does. She
hmm
finds her own place, and the community adapts to that. I think that's a
hmm
good message.
Yes, I feel that's pretty accurate since I was a little late to the pony phenomenon myself. So I was coming into a community that already existed,
Hmm.
and I want to belong, so I will do my best today.
Hmm. Hmm. Yay. Well said. Very nice. That's a good one. I like that one.
Thank you.
Yes, anyone who's listening, if I'm going to interview you, I am going to ask this question, so I want to get an answer ready.
It
Though
was easy.
spontaneity is a good part of it too, because I do love the reaction most of all when I ask it and people, oh,
Yep.
Well, one thing I wanted to mention, it was very recent. Well, not recent, it's been a general theme, but you seem to be pretty good at mixing drinks.
I guess I sort of am. Uh, I've been told I make a very mean martini.
Oh, interesting.
My wife especially appreciates those after a hard day's work sometimes,
Sure, sure.
and I do too.
Hmm.
But I'm a sucker for sweet things.
Okay,
Uh, so I like mixing up interesting little concoctions. It's the scientist in me, really. It's the chemist in me
right,
that
right.
wants to make interesting concoctions and see how they come out,
Hmm. Hmm.
and you know, just of course I like the bright colors and whatnot. I've
Well,
been told sometimes that the stuff I mix up is tends to be, they would be considered girly drinks, but I don't know about any of that.
come on.
I
I mean, we voluntarily, proudly watch a show for 8-year-old girls. I don't think peer pressure is a factor at this point for us.
It's certainly not a problem with me. I will
Yeah.
remind you, I got my start with all this nonsense years and years ago watching um, Sailor Moon.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
there's a lot of parallels there actually.
Yeah.
So I have no problem with admitting or with girly stuff.
Hmm.
I've been doing it for a while, I guess you could say.
Sure.
But yeah, I like my martinis with the
Hmm.
bright colors and not necessarily the drinks with the umbrellas because I think that's going a little too far.
Yeah,
But
that I don't think that adds to it. If you get
no,
flavored umbrellas, that might be something we could make.
no,
A little
yeah, no, I,
umbrella with a straw as a holder, and in the straw is a flavor. So when you pick it up, it gets you a little flavor.
yeah, no, I just like mixing things together, and
Hmm.
especially fun is trying to throw some stuff together, see how it tastes, and then depending on how it either tastes, looks, or how you feel the next morning, giving it a name. Like the drink I invented the other night, the party cannon,
Party cannon, yes.
or the Twilight Sparkle, which was I mean, once I mixed it up and it had that very particular shade of purple, and I was just like, nope, yep, that's a Twilight Sparkle drink right there.
Hmm. Hmm.
And the one that really gave me a headache the next morning though was the what was that? That was the Flutter Dash.
Ah, okay, Flutter
It
Dash.
was a mixed drink
Of
of
course.
different colors.
Mhm.
My first shipping drink, I guess you could say. And it was a lot of fruit in it. It was, mango juices and so forth. So it seemed like it would be a really sweet,
Right.
wonderful, soft-spoken sort of drink.
Mhm.
But it actually gives you a little bit of a kick
Ah,
afterwards,
okay.
a little bit brash
And like
afterwards.
much shipping gives you a heck of a headache the next day when you think about it. Oh, why did I
Yes.
do that? I don't.
And you're like, oh, why did I do that?
Very apropos then.
Yes, it was in retrospect, it was a really good name for that drink.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I only started making drinks or anything when I came out here, so I don't know what's available in America versus what's available here. Are you familiar with Passoa?
No, I'm not.
Okay, Passoa is a passion fruit liquor. It's a
Hmm.
deep red, and it's way too sour for me.
Hmm.
But if I take pineapple juice, which again, really sour, if I mix those two together, it's a wonderful pink color. It looks like Pinkie Pie, and it's sweet, and it really goes down smooth. It's very odd. One of the sourest fruits I can find mixed with a very sour liquor, and we get a sweet, fruity drink that's pink. It's very nice.
Hmm. I may have to look for that the next time I'm at the liquor store.
I
See if I can
recommend it.
find that.
Passoa.
That's all. I've written it down.
Mhm.
It shall be so.
The bottle itself is a black onyx-looking bottle, but inside it's
Hmm.
passion fruit liquor. It's really pretty good. I like it.
That's the other neat thing about drinks and so forth is the bottles they come in are always so neat.
Yes.
I'm a sucker for, neat looking bottles.
Mm-mm-mm.
If you can say that. I don't know. But I
Sure.
just I just like all the different designs and the glass and
Oh
the
yeah.
different ways their shapes and so forth.
Oh yeah. It's difficult, I'm sure, for a lot of the drinks. They have to stand out enough so that you recognize it, and
Hmm.
yet still retain some dignity. I mean, I
Mm,
suppose they could make one in the shape of one of those bendy straws, the super swirly bendy straw bottle, but
yeah.
who would drink that?
I think they probably have. I think I may have seen some stuff that comes in some very weird looking bottles.
Wow.
Lots of loops and circles.
Hmm, hmm.
Um, some of it is probably not stuff you'd want to drink, and other stuff is probably stuff you can't afford to drink.
Yes.
It's funny how that works.
There's actually I might go there today. That's yeah, you know what? That's a good idea. There's a liquor shop next to me, and it's one of the more brilliant ideas. I don't know why it hasn't caught on, but it's two floors, and
Hmm.
you actually have to go through a door to get to the second floor, even though they're both inside the same building. The bottom floor is a liquor store, and the top floor is a bar. So
Mm.
if you go to the liquor store and you're like, hey, what's this drink? Hypnotique. I don't know what that is. You can go upstairs and say, hey, can I try a drink with this in it? If they don't have it, they'll go downstairs, get the drink, bring it up, and make a drink for you. And you try it and you say, oh, that's really good. I'm going to go buy it now. And you go back downstairs and buy it. Or not.
That's a
It's your choice.
really neat idea. That's a very clever idea,
It's a
actually.
wonderful idea. And they do tell you, the bar upstairs, there's no chairs. So it is a standing bar. So it's not designed to go and get drunk at. It's a place where you
Right.
go and you test something. And if you like it, then you go downstairs and you buy it.
Hmm.
It's a really good idea.
That is a really good idea.
Yeah.
Someone needs to start something like that here.
There we go.
Probably is in New York City. I wouldn't be surprised. There's
Right.
everything there, but I haven't found it yet, so I'll have to search that out.
Yeah.
That's really neat.
Hmm. Well, actually, the irony is that the shop next to me is called New York Liquor.
Is it really?
I'm not joking about this. If I can get a picture before the interview goes up, I'll put it right here. So if it does happen, then the picture will happen right now. But New York Liquor.
Oh, that's ironic.
Hmm. There are connections in this world.
There
Liquor
are.
seems to be one of them.
Hmm. Oh, it's funny how things work out.
Mhm.
Ah, yes.
Well, Keithius, thank you very much for coming to talk with us today.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
Is there anything that you'd like to plug while you're here?
Not really, other than perhaps what I've already mentioned about shuttershy.org.
Hmm.
I guess if you like photography, head on over. You don't need to be like serious or anything. I'm certainly not. So there's always that. And maybe say hi on Twitter. That's about it.
Well, and Twitter, I know that you have a Twitter account, and I believe Gus and Betsy do as well, don't they?
Yes, I'm not a Twitter pony. I don't do the pony RP, but I do the
Mhm.
bunny RP.
Yes.
I role play my rabbits. Yes, they have their own Twitter accounts and they post rarely, and it's usually in response to something I've done telling me how much they disapprove of me.
But on occasion, they'll do a point of view picture of their new bunny tunnel they've made, and that's cute.
Yes.
All right, everyone. Well, follow Keithius on Twitter and Gus and Betsy as well, and check out shuttershy.org if you'd
Hmm.
like to get some nice pictures. Thank you very much for coming and talking with us.
Thank you.
Everyone, we'll catch you next time into the spotlight on Everfree Network. Goodbye.